stress. We feel like we need more time, more money, more resource, more people helping us, more people in our team, less work, less hassle, less people communicating with us. It's like this constant onslaught every day. Sometimes it feels like that, doesn't it? You know, I remember actually when I was working years ago, and I had so much going on all the time. You know, when you open your emails, there's thousands of emails. You look at your diary, there's back to back to back to back. There's no time to do any work. And I remember sitting in this meeting, and my colleague said to me, you know, after the meeting, she said, you need to get yourself sorted because you look stressed, you look overwhelmed, you're not making the right decisions, you're not saying the right things. And we're kind of like in this panic mode, reactive mode, aren't we? And other people notice that you're not as engaged as you should be because you're really, really stressed. And, you know, for your own health and for your own benefit, having the ability to manage your stress and deal with any anxiety that you feel is really important. And that is what this video is about. In this video, I'm going to go through 3 stress busters that actually aren't the things you think I'm going to say. They're actually all to do with managing the way your brain processes things, and how you go about your business. So yeah, relaxing, reading, walking, exercising, eating well, not drinking, all of those things helps the stress. But in this video, we're going to take a slightly different route on dealing with that stress and busting that stress. And before I get into the 3 stress busters, there is access to more training and action sheets that will enable you to take the action that you need in your career. So make sure you go to the link in the description below to access all the training that is available to you to help you in your career. Just click on the link in the description. So let's get to the 3 stress busters. Now, as I said, these stress busters are not the usual things you think about when it comes to stress. But the whole premise of these strategies, and this comes from someone who has dealt with huge amounts of stress for various different reasons in my lifetime, this comes down to the premise that in the end, you can't buy more time. You can't get more time in the day. You've got what you've got. And some days you feel okay and some days you don't. So the only difference between those days is what's going on in your head. So these strategies are about handling your mind, using your mind and your mindset better to reduce the stress. And the first strategy is about focus. What you focus on impacts the thought processes that goes on in your head. So if I think about that job I had, if I focus on all those emails, all those meetings, all the things I haven't done, all the things that are going on in my life, I'm gonna be like racking up the stress levels and the anxiety in me. But if I focus on the right things at the right time, and I focus at one thing at a time, then I can start taking action, because action is ultimately the key to get out of wherever it is you're in. That is always the answer, taking action. So focusing on what you need to do, what is the next step that you need to do to get you where you want to go, will start building some momentum, can never say that word, building momentum. And once you get that momentum, you start taking the action, then you will start feeling better. So we get stressed and anxious when we're like, oh, I just don't know where to start, I don't know what to do, I don't know, I just don't know. So once you focus on the right things and you focus on the next thing, you can start building some of that momentum, start taking action, and some of that stress will leave your brain. So that's the first one. Stress buster number 2 is applying the 80-20 principle to everything you've got to do. Now, if you've heard of the 80-20 principle, which you probably have, the idea is that if you know 20% of your effort gets you 80% of your results. And when you're in your working week, you've got so much to do all the time. You're never, ever, ever going to get through all of those tasks. But if you can identify what that 20% is that is going to give you that 80% of your results, then who cares about the rest of it? Well, we do care, but it changes the way our brain thinks. So when you get up in the morning, the first thing you're going to do is think, what is my 20%? What is the 20% of things I've got to do today that I absolutely have to do that is going to give me the 80% of results of all the time I spend doing stuff today? What is my 20%? And once you get into the exercise of identifying what your 20% is, you then spend your day thinking, I've got to get my 20% done. That is what I need to focus on. Stress buster number one. If I get my 20% done, I've got 80% of the results I'm going to get today. And everything I do after that is a bonus. That's how I think. So I've got to make sure I deliver and do and implement my 20%. And everything after that I do is great and a bonus. And, you know, lots of times I've done my 20% by 11 o'clock in the morning. So the rest of the day is additional stuff. Now, it doesn't change how much time you have in the day, but it does two things. Number one is you get the most important things done. And once you get in the rhythm of doing the most important things, you realize the value of applying the 80-20 principle, and you realize things that you put off or you put aside, you start really identifying what is the most important part of the things that you need to do. And when you've done them, you're like, oh, I've been trying to do that for 3 months. It's been urgent, and it's really important, but I just haven't got it. It's too big a task, or haven't got to it. And you're spending all your time doing all these little bits of other stuff, people ringing you up, people sending you emails, people interrupting your workflow. So if you can carve out your day in, you know, maybe it's 2 or 3 hours in the morning, whatever, maybe it's in the afternoon, maybe it's in the evening, however it works for you. But if you can carve out your day and do your 20%, then you know you're going to end the day knowing you've got 80% of the output you're going to get today. And I can't tell you, once you really test this out, how much that gets rid of the stress, because you stop worrying about everything else. You stop thinking about everything else. You can go into meetings and know, yeah, I haven't got everything done, but I have got the important things done. And I'm smart enough to identify what they are. So stress buster number 2 is identify your 80-20, identify your 20%, excuse me, and get 80% of your results. And you might have done that by 10 in the morning, so that is awesome. So stress buster number 3, changing the question you ask yourself from, again, normally when we have all of our stuff that we have to look at, we're like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? How am I going to, you know, when am I going to do this? What am I? And we're thinking like, how am I going to do this? And the answer to that question is all those stressful things that normally go through your head. The thing is the power of the conversation that you have in your mind. If you can change that conversation, then you're going to get different outcomes, different results, okay? So instead of asking yourself, how am I going to do this? Ask a better question that gets different answers. And that question is, how am I going to get this done? Slightly different from how am I going to do this, but how am I going to get this done? Because what that does is it opens up your brain to think about all the other ways of getting things done. You know, maybe it's delegating to someone else. Maybe it's asking someone else to do a bit of it. Maybe it's finding an external company to do it. Maybe it is doing it in a meeting 5 minutes before you start another meeting, get everyone's input, and you've done like an hour of thinking in 5 minutes because you've got everyone else helping you. There's lots of different ways to get things done. But if you ask yourself the question, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get all of this? You know, how am I going to do all of this? You're always going to come back to you. But if you ask yourself a different question, which is, how am I going to get this done? There's a whole load of other opportunities, resources, and answers to that question that doesn't fall on your shoulders. So instantly, you know, it relieves some of the stress that you're feeling. So the 3 unexpected stress busters is, number 1, what you focus on. Number 2, apply the 80-20 principle. Number 3, how do I get this done? And if you use all of those 3 things and you create a habit every day to start your day and implement with these things in mind, I promise you from my own experience, that not only do you feel less anxious and feel less stressed because you know you're doing the right things, but you also, it gives you confidence in how you interact with other people, because you're confident in and know exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it, and you can back it up, and sort of subconsciously that gives us confidence and posture in the way that we communicate and interact with others. But don't take my word for it. Go and test these strategies out, because once you start experiencing the benefits of these strategies, you're really, really going to get the benefit from the strategies, obviously. So go and test them out, go and implement these strategies and see the changes taking effect sort of day after day after day. And I promise you, you will feel less stressed. And you may need to go into a spa and have a massage as well. That's totally up to you. But on a day-to-day implementation perspective, these 3 strategies are going to change your life, and they're going to change the way you do the way that you work. And like I said at the beginning of the video, just click on the link in the download in the description under this video so that you can access all the tools and the training that will help you communicate with confidence, build authority, influence upwards in your workplace, and relieve the stress. And alongside stress, one of the things that really, really, really affects is confidence. And I want you to also take click on the video that's just come up, hopefully, that talks about confidence, because confidence and minimizing stress kind of goes together. And when you're feeling confident, you don't feel less stressed. And when you get stressed, you lose your confidence. So there should be a video coming up right now that is about building your confidence muscle. So go and check that out. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, because we've got loads of content, really helpful videos that are going to help you really be the best you can. So click on the subscription, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.